that we're shifting emphasis here on what should be a pergola, and in my mind, should certainly be permitted, as opposed to this aluminum louver device, which I have a bit of a problem with. I'd be more comfortable if we had language similar to what they have here in Naples concerning 50% open to the sky and show, that using that kind of a criteria.
I mean, the louver is to let air in, right? I mean,
Air.
if it was a recreational area, you're at a pool, the louvers.
Provide shade and.
It's a
Provide
shade, but also
shade.
as the sun moves, depending on how they
Sure.
can construct it,
Sure.
they could, change the angles, just,
I don't have a problem with the louvers at all.
I don't either.
I think that perhaps adding another additional line to include your concerns, Tom, with regards to storage,
I
that
agree.
might handle it. But
I
you
agree
see
with that.
still a conflict then with the roof over.
I do, but I'm not going to debate the issue.
All right, okay, so this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on our pergolas, please come forward. Again, it's a public hearing. Last call for a public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now, we have a motion for ZA 0215. Anyone wishing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it with the addition of adding the lines from the Naples of not having any storage. You want to make the motion, you can read it.
No, mine would be a different motion, but.
Okay.
Does everyone understand Kim's motion?
Well, don't you have to add
Wait.
the word not?
Well, that was going
Okay.
to be the next one.
Right. Adding the word not, adding that we would not be able to use, that storage would not be permitted under the pergolas. Any outdoors?
And is there a second to that?
sure, second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that's 3-1. All right, we have no quasi-judicial public hearings. We do have ordinance, and we'll have citizens' comments on the ordinance only, no public hearing, but this is related to model homes, apartments, condominiums, providing for definition, providing limitation of permitted use.
Yes, this is the second reading of an ordinance which will read by title only. An ordinance of the City of Punta Gorda, Florida, amending Chapter 26, Punta Gorda Code, known as the Land Development Regulations, amending Article 8, Standards of General Applicability, Section 8.9, Model Homes, Apartment, and Condominiums, providing for definition and providing for limitation of permitted use, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, we can have citizens' comments beforehand. Is there any citizens' comments on this? Okay. And we have, speaking to the issue?
No.
No.
It's marked.
Are you gonna take
No,
this?
this is just second reading. We just need to vote.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ZA 1214. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, our consent agenda. First of all, yes, sir.
When you go through the citizens' comments, Councilmember Keeling has some comments.
Okay. We have citizen comments first on the consent agenda related to approval of minutes, approval of a drug-free Punta Gorda Coalition involvement agreement, our invoices, our monthly litigation report, appropriation of funds for code compliance, vehicle replacement for code compliance vehicles, and a resolution authorizing grant applications for the Marine Advisory Committee. Is there any citizens' comments? All right, did we wish to pull something? You have something from Rachel Howard?
I did.
Did you want to pull something?
She just wants to make some comments.
Okay, well, is there any other items that anyone wishes to pull? I would like to pull the one, D1, appropriation of funds for code compliance.
I would just like to make a comment when it's appropriate.
Okay. Let us hear Rachel's.
if we're gonna pull D1, so I'll hold off on that. But on the Drug-Free Coalition grant request,
Yes.
she supports it, just wants to know about the 5-year commitment. If they do get the grant, how would that be handled? Because I think they want a council member to be a part of the group. And when I discussed it with her, I said, well, council makes appointments to various committees, and council members change, so if they do get the grant and they want a council member to be a part of the group, you would have to just appoint somebody for the 5 years. If the council member changes, somebody else ought to take the place.
And I believe, Kim, you've been
I'm-
the representative
Yes, I have.
from council. So is that,
So is everyone all right with that?
Yeah,
I-
and
I think that's-
I would
that's
just like to recognize Councilmember Devine for her efforts in this program, and thank you very much for it.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Thank you.
yes.
So important.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be pulling D1. Does anyone want to move approval of the?
Move approval of the consent agenda minus D1.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve all but D1. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, we'll begin with Rachel Kiesling's comments on D1.
Councilmember Kiesling's comments, vehicle replacement for code. Unfortunate situation, but we must rectify the situation. Not sure if this is the best solution, but staff has justified the need.
Other comments on that? My concern was the need to lease a car for 4 months. And maybe we might have some comments with regards to not being able to find a truck in our community that would, or 2 trucks in our community that would meet the needs of code compliance without having to go and, again, wait 4 months for the truck to be delivered.
We did shop locally. There are trucks locally. They were not competitive locally, unfortunately. They cost more, including when you take into account the rental costs, they were still more. So, yes, as a council, you can make a decision to just say, let's buy locally and get them. But from our viewpoint, from procurement's viewpoint, we shop what the best deal was through the state contract, and when we got that price, plus the rental, it still came in less.
Okay, comments, Nancy?
I'm a pickup truck owner, and when we made a decision in 2008 to purchase a pickup, our preference initially was to look for one that was used. But the price on used pickup trucks is so close to the retail price of a new truck, the depreciation is so little that it's like, well, why buy a used one? And we bought a new one. And so from a city standpoint, the investment is really good. And so I have no problem with
With the rental.
with the rental as an interim solution, and then to get new trucks. I mean, you can go out and get one, but, why buy a used one that
I wasn't
may have a lot of-
suggesting used. I wasn't suggesting used,
Oh,
if that
okay.
came across that way. I wasn't suggesting
That's what I
used.
thought you were referring
No,
to.
I'm just saying that there seemed to be, so many trucks and cars on so many lots. It would seem that we should be able to find one and
Here.
negotiate a reasonable price. Kim?
No, I'm happy with Howard's explanation that includes the rental fee, and I'm happy to go forward.
Okay, I wanted to bring it up because we have had questions from citizens.
Yes.
So wanted to,
We would love to buy locally. We just want them to be more competitive. I don't know what else,
yeah, we understand. All right, so we do need a motion then on D1.
Move approval of D1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve D1. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. We have now citizen comments on regular agenda items only. We have unfinished business, our 1% local option sales tax status report, road resurfacing report, South County Overlay District update, a life jacket loaner stand proposal for ponds, use of the city seal by organizations, and issues related to procedure for protecting Shell Creek watershed with regards to the Charlotte County's proposed comprehensive plan amendments. Anyone wishing to speak on any of these items?
Good morning. My name is Deborah Highsmith, and I'm speaking to you as the Conservation Chair of the Greater Charlotte Harbor Sierra Club. I'm speaking in relationship to Agenda Item 9B, and I support you in your decision-making process to protect the Shell Creek watershed. And I want to compliment Mr. Levin on a superb memo to your city council members on this issue. I'm speaking today also as a person who drinks your water. I'm also an individual petitioner in a current comprehensive plan amendment challenge. On October 23rd, myself and the Greater Charlotte Harbor Sierra Club filed a challenge for a formal administrative hearing on an earlier package of comprehensive plan amendments, and our case has been consolidated with another case in West County from the Friends of Cape Hayes. So I and we are already challenging dozens and dozens of proposed amendments to Smart Charlotte 2050. Some of them involve wetland protection, buffers, wildlife corridors, public access to water, private access to conservation lands, neighborhood compatibility, transfer of density units, evacuation time, sprawl, smart planning principles. The list is long and distinguished. The MRE amendment that you are addressing today is just one, and a new petition of dozens and dozens of articles that are being challenged. Smart Charlotte 2050 was a product of a huge community output, 2.5 years, 20 public meetings, 800 online comments. It is the vision, goals, policies, and objectives of a community. It's a 30-year plan for growth and natural resource protection that was finalized in 2011. We and I am challenging to preserve that plan. And finally, one word about permitting. You're going to hear a lot about permitting. Agencies permit impacts. That's what they do. Local governments plan their land use. That's what Smart Charlotte 2050 does. And we're also challenging to protect Charlotte County in its right to protect your watershed.
Thank you.
So, good luck. We're behind you. And be sure, and if you choose to go forward, be sure and contact all of the permitting agencies within your jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak on any of the issues related to our agenda?
Good morning, Jerry Waxler with McCrory Law Firm. I'm representing the Vermont Road Partnership, R&D Cattle, and DM Construction, all three of whom have mines within existing mines that are partly within the half-mile mining and excavation prohibited area for the county. That prohibition area is new. It was adopted with the 2050 plan. But it's also important to recognize that that prohibition against commercial mines is just that. It reflected a bias against commercial mining. The prohibition area does not prohibit farms mines, which can be excavations just as large, which are used to create reservoirs that then provide irrigation for crops. And it does not prevent or prohibit mines where the dirt is going to stay on the property. Again, the mine can be just as large, but if they're using it on the property, for instance, as Florida Tracks and Trails has, that is not prohibited either. So it is important to recognize that there really wasn't a concern about mining, because if there was, it would have looked at all three of those types of mines because they could have the same impacts. It was simply just a bias against commercial excavations, primarily coming from concerns about excavations that had previously been approved along the Washington Loop corridor and residents along there who objected to those. All three of the mines that I represent are all lawfully permitted mines, and they have undergone an extensive review. First, by county staff, second, by a hearing officer in a quasi-judicial hearing, and third, by the Southwest Florida Water Management District. All the mines, not just the three that I represent, but all mines that are ultimately approved, are designed with redundancies. They are there to ensure that there are multiple processes that prevent unfiltered water from leaving the excavation site. There have been mines operating within this new prohibition area for over 20 years, And with the exception of the incident that you had, which, as we now know, was not caused by a lawfully permitted mine, with the exception of that one incident, there have been no incidents and no impacts to your water supply during the 20 years that those mines have been in existence. However, we understand the city's concern to protect its water supply system. So Gary Bain from Southwest Engineering and Design, who has done the design for the 3 mines that I've spoken about, are here to volunteer our services. We would like to meet with Tom, your utilities director, and with Joan LeBeau to craft language that would give the city a voice in the permitting process so that you are notified when mines, either new mines come in or extensions to mines are proposed, and so that you have the ability to make comments as the county goes through that review. Gary is also available, if we were to come up with that language, we would commit to going together with the city and proposing it to the county as a revision to their existing mining ordinance, and we would be happy to volunteer our time and services to do that and work with the city on that. Gary is also here. I don't know if you have any interest, but he made a presentation earlier to your utilities, oversight board, and he has that same presentation if you have an interest in seeing how mines are designed and the kinds of things that occur in the mine design that creates that safety to ensure that there are no impacts to your water supply. So with that, I would ask that you give us some direction if you would like us to work with your staff, and we would ask actually, I already made my request, that we get some direction for you if you would like us to work with your staff, and just again, to let you know that we're here to be partners with the city, not to cause problems. Thanks.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
May I ask Jerry a question?
Sure.
Jerry, the mines that you are representing, are those mines in that class of mines that have permits that have either expired or are expiring?
They have existing permits that will expire. The language that was changed in the comprehensive plan would allow those existing permits to be extended so that they could complete the mine for which they were originally permitted. The extension would not allow any expansion of their mining efforts. They would be required to that they have been in compliance with their permits during the time of the original permit, and would also require that they come up to compliance if there have been any new regulations that have been imposed with regard to new best practices, for instance, with regard to mining. They would have to agree to come into compliance with those as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other comments related to our agenda items?
Hi, my name is Marcus Shore. I'm here on behalf of the CETO Foundation for Boating Safety. We just simply want to put a life jacket loaner stand at your Ponce de Leon Park boat ramp. Costs the city nothing. We maintain it. We provide the life jackets. There's no stipulation as to how long it would have to be there. We would remove it at your choice, if your discretion, if you chose to not want it there any longer. All the rest of the ramps in Charlotte County have let us install them. It's been a great system. We've been recording how many are coming and going and things like that. It's a free, no cost to the city. I really don't see any reason not to let us put one, but this has to be done, I guess. So I'm asking you guys to allow us to put one with the city. I've got some pictures of the stands and things like that if you want to look at them. The vests, they're nice vests, and we don't just let them stay on the stands. We rotate them out. As they get faded and worn, we donate them to Officer Kennedy and the FWC. They pull people over on the water. They can just give them a jacket rather than write them a citation.
Thank you, Mr. Shore.
One other thing is the major benefit I see is a lot of times people don't postpone their day on the water because they realize they don't have a life jacket. So that's why we're trying to get them at the ramp. People are going to go anyways. So it's free. I appreciate your
I believe our
consideration.
city attorney has a comment.
I was looking in the materials. Are these Coast Guard approved?
They
life
are
jackets?
Coast Guard approved. You can have a look. Would you like to look at it?
No, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah, they are all Coast Guard approved, and they're kept in usable condition. We check the stands regularly, and our captains are on the water in the area. We're not trying to use this as advertisement. Our Seatow, Charlotte Harbor is not on the life jackets. These are all donated to us. We are absorbing some of the costs as a local business to maintain them. Some of the concern that I've found is that we're trying to get advertising. The only place that we are actually advertising on the stand is our phone number is on here. That's simply so people can call and say, your stand needs to be replenished, or could you, everybody knows who we are, so.
Thank you.
The only other issue is people have said, are they disappearing? What, are you going to keep up on it? We've had really, really good luck. It's been surprising to me that the community is actually bringing these things back. I thought, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I thought, geez, we're going to be like every day, every Monday, we're going to have to go down and put new life jackets on these stands, and they're actually wearing out before they're disappearing.
That's wonderful.
So it's a good service.
great.
I hope that you guys will consider it.
Thank you, Mr. Shore.
Thank you for time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Good.
Good morning. I'm Rick Freed on 9B, the excavation ordinance. Let me explain. I'm the one that got the watershed signs put on Shell and Prairie Creek, both on the road and on the water side. No one else seemed interested. I'm a Florida Master Naturalist. As part of my graduation, everybody needed a project. That was my project. I got a grant. I live on Shell Creek. I have called the Water Department to report an excessive algae bloom. I also am the Sierra Club outings leader that leads the canoe and kayak trips up Shell Creek, Peace River, and occasionally Prairie Creek. One of the things I explain to people, besides what tree this is and why it's high banks and what have you, is though we are paddling through a very pristine-looking forest, if you Google map Shell Creek, you'll see it's just a very narrow band of green surrounded by groves, cattle grazing, and some excavations. A lot of these excavations were approved years and years ago when that really was far country and nothing but the cattle and the orange groves existed. That's not the case anymore. Shell Creek is not spring-fed. I'm not a geologist. I'm just a naturalist who loves to be out there. What comes into Shell Creek is what drains off the land. There's very little of it. It's a high bank. We have some erosion from boat wakes because nothing is enforced on it. A lot of what goes into the creek, some of it is coming from the banks, but a lot of it is whatever the rain falls on, drains. You all have been here long enough to know that come September and October, that whole east area is pretty well underwater. Whatever you're seeing in the creek is coming off the land. And when there are excavations, that's something different than what is draining off. And I think you've got to look more forward than just who needs to make money out of excavations right now. I grew up in Florida since 1941 on the East Coast. I watched some business decisions by councils who let Miami Beach hotels build seawalls out into the beach, and instead of miles of beach, ruin Miami Beach as the original beach to go to. I think we need more planning for the future and not so much planning as to who pockets we're lining right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Any other comments regarding? Good, thank you. You've been keeping time for everyone else, too.
My name's Adam Cummings. I'm a 28-year resident of the city, live over behind the library. The road resurfacing status report, love it. Thanks for doing the roads. Hope that West Grace Street is included in the list of still to do. South County Overlay District update. Council member comments about annexation. That's the right way to actually do the special overlay, my opinion. The main item that I had an interest in was your watershed overlay. As your representative to the commission at the time that overlay district was done, I want to assure you it was not just a mere bias and political thing against mines. It was a deliberate intent to protect our drinking water supply, my drinking water supply. If there are other impacts in there that we are not or cannot address, that does not mean that we should not address the ones that we already are. So I want to thank you for the efforts that you're putting forward to work with the commission on that. I know how difficult it is. I made a deliberate attempt of always trying to not step on the city council's toes and get involved in what I perceived as your business. Having said that, my great-grandfather was the first mayor of Ogis, Florida. Probably never heard of it because it doesn't exist anymore. North Miami Beach rolled right over top of it. And the point of that is that those growth management decisions can reach into our communities and change our way of life. And the direction that the head of the community development told me in the workshop that he had for this comp plan was to remove everything that he could that was in excess of the bare minimum requirements of state law.
Thank you.
I don't think that matches our vision here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Adam.
So
All right.
go on to greater efforts.
Thank you. Any other comments related to our agenda?
For the record, Gary Bain with Southwest Engineering and Design. I wasn't going to comment, I just wanted to see how this played out, but after hearing a few, I just had to talk briefly about excavations and what goes into them with the design of the hydraulic barrier, stormwater systems. And my fear is, if you don't allow the extensions of the 3 or 4 mines that need to be done, I've spoke to some of my clients, and they would say, well, if I got 5 years of my permit, I'm going to dig as fast as I can. And as soon as you do that, safety goes out the door. So it's one of those things where let's do these mines right. Let's get them out of the watershed. Let's finish them up, how they were permitted, and go on our way. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Any other comments related to our agenda today? All right, seeing none, I'm going to call a 5-minute break.
Okay.
I'd like to bring the council meeting back to order. If it pleases the council. If it pleases the council, perhaps we could move the issue of the life jacket loaner stand forward. Would that be all right?
That would be fine.
Would that be agreeable, Tom?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, why don't we move forward then on the life jacket loaner stand proposal of Ponce de Leon Park? That's 8A. Were there any additional comments? Does anyone have any
I'd like to
comments,
move
questions?
approval.
No, I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and approved, moved and seconded rather, to approve the life jacket loaner stand proposal of Ponce de Leon Park. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
And
Yep.
And I would like to thank Mark Shore and the CETO company. Where is Mark? Is he here? He already left. Well, wanted to thank Mark for their support and for doing this wonderful activity and providing life jackets at Ponce de Leon
It's a
Park.
great program.
terrific,
Great
yeah.
program.
And if they wish to provide them at some of our other parks, that would be fine too.
We have no objection.
No objection. Okay, so we'll go back to 7A, the 1% local option sales tax project status report.
Good morning, Mark Gehring, Public Works, here with a 1% local option sales tax update. I'll show you where we are with the projects. From our capital improvements program, you can see the ones highlighted in yellow there are the ones that we have funding for this year. Many of the others don't start until future years, so we'll present on these yellow items. First one is Harbor Walk at Lashley Park Municipal Marina. That's where we're going to connect the Harbor Walk through the Crab House and the ship store along the water there. There's really no connection between the Lashley and Gilchrist Harbor Walks without kind of finding your way through the parking lot right now. We've completed a concept drawing, January. We're scheduling a meeting with FDEP to consider a footbridge. The project budget is $200,000, and we're hoping to start in July. Here's a schematic of what we're going to accomplish there. The yellow path. Yes, ma'am?
You have on there a high-visibility boat ramp crossing. Can you put something on this that shows that you have some kind of a crossing where the people from the boat docks are going to come across the harbor walk, so that there's something there where in the harbor walk that shows there's a crossing, and just on this?
We'll take a
Maybe
close
when you-
look at it.
when
We
you
haven't done
do
the
it.
engineering design of it yet.
Well, I mean, when, at least on this schematic, just indicate something so that it shows that we're thinking about it.
Okay, all right, we can certainly
I
do
mentioned that to Howard when I met with him on Monday. He said, asked, just bring it up in the
Okay.
meeting today, so.
And what we're trying to accomplish now is, right in this area here, we have that little channel that comes in, and we're hoping to put in a footbridge there across the mangroves. We're going to meet with DEP and find out how much environmental permitting is involved. We're hoping to go over the mangroves and not have, they have special provisions in their permitting for going over mangroves for docks, and we're hoping that they'll consider this boardwalk the same way.
Two things, Mark. Where we have the crosswalk across the boat ramp, would you mark the roadway so the boats, the trailers go back and forth and they know that there's a roadway there?
We're going to
and
mark the,
and they don't hang out there and we don't...
I can't remember. We haven't really looked to see how long the boats are when people are putting them in. I think they're beyond that point, but we're constrained there. We have the wall that sticks up there for the sidewalk at the ship store that creates a blind spot. So we want to pull the walk down toward the water as much as we can so that they're not coming across the path right from the blind spot created by that wall.
Just something I think we need to be aware of.
We'll look at it real closely.
And the other question I have is that the mangroves that are parallel to the proposed walk, can they be trimmed at all, or are we going to have to live with the current?
We're trimming those regularly to the maximum extent that FDP will allow.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if DEP does not allow the footbridge, what are your other options?
That is to come around the boat ramp there, that curved area,
Okay,
right up here. We'll just wrap the sidewalk right around the curb. There's no impact to any mangroves, and won't be near as pleasing, but we can accomplish it that way.
okay.
Just a comment, I'm glad to see that you're looking at, somewhere I read 45-degree angles, or no 90-degree angles on the,
No, that's the US 41 South Bridge.
oh, okay. Well, I would just say on the Harbor Walk itself, or on anywhere where we have bicycle paths, avoid 90-degree angles, because some bicycles don't take 90-degree angles very well.
Yeah.
Mine's one of them, so
If we can
I end up in the grass.
if we can do what we have shown here, we're going to put a compass rose where the sidewalks interconnect, so there will be no 90-degree turns needed. Okay, the next project is the Sullivan Street lighting. We're installing 11 decorator lamps on Sullivan Street. One block between Retta and Charlotte has a couple decorator lights already, so we're going to put decorator lights on the other 3 blocks. If you can look closely on there, there's a red dot where each light's going to go. We've issued a work order to our boring contractor. He'll be out there in a week or two to start boring the conduits. We've ordered the lamps. They're in stock, and we're going to begin the work about a week, 2 weeks at most.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sidewalk improvements. This is a project where we're going to replace the brick veneer pavers in front of the post office. You can see from the photo there, they're all peeling up. Requires quite a bit of maintenance, very unsightly. And we'll be putting in paver stones, just like we've put in 41 and most of the rest of Marion and Olympia. We did not anticipate when we created our project budget that we'd be putting in tree wells with trees. We simply gave an estimate for the cost of the pavers. We've worked with urban design, we've come up with a plan, and we're asking that we move an additional $14,000 to the project to cover the cost of the tree wells, the grates, and the trees themselves. We believe through our other projects, the ones we've started and future projects, that this won't be any impact to completing all the projects on our sales tax list. But we would like confirmation that we can move additional 14,000 in there and do the project the right way and put the tree wells in so it matches across the street and the rest of Marion Avenue.
Are there any concerns with regards to that?
Works for me.
Okay, thank you.
Storm sewer cleaning truck, that truck that we have, the tanks on it are very rusted, the pumps are worn, not working very well. We're putting a lot into maintenance. The truck's not been operational for several months now. We are in procurement now, trying to purchase a new one, and procurement has told us it could be as early as 2 weeks when they sign the purchase order for that. Next project is ADA improvements. We learned last year as part of our paving that we need to upgrade any curb ramps, sidewalks that adjoin the intersections where we pave. We have mapped all of those. We've met with our concrete contractor. We have most of those ready for work. They'll be beginning in the next few weeks as well, except there's a couple of them that are very difficult because of things that exist around the corner. It's not as simple as just replace a little bit of concrete. This picture here, you can see that this is the corner at Olympia. The sidewalk continues down Olympia, but as you can see in the picture here, there's not even a ramp going in that direction. So things like that we'll be correcting, and that, again, should be starting any day now with the concrete work. The public safety building, the perimeter lighting. Back when the sales tax projects were first being discussed, we received a phone call from the police department that asked, could we give them a price for upgrading the lights at the police station? And we had just recently completed upgrading our lights at Public Works, so we had a number real handy. We simply took a single headlight that we had, and we changed it to a double headlight. So we gave them the number and moved on. Sales tax got approved, and I met with the police department and fire, and they were explaining what they needed. They have dark areas in the parking lot where the existing poles just don't get to, and we went over and spent an evening, Friday evening, with the police department looking at their cameras and what they could see outside, and as well walked the site. And we found that through a computer model that we could not just simply upgrade the heads and accomplish what the police department was looking to do there. We did a model, and using some new LED heads that are directional, we were able to give them good 1-foot candle lighting throughout the parking lot. If we look here at the, looking from the cameras out at the site, US 41 is lit very well, which causes your eyes to think that the parking lot, it is not lit well, but it even amplifies the problem when you're looking through the cameras out at 41, which is real bright. You cannot see anything except shadows on the police department parking lot site. So what we found is that it's going to cost $30,000 to do a proper lighting rework of the site. That's $12,000 over what we had originally planned for. And again, we're asking that we allocate an additional $12,000 to this project.
Yes, Howard.
Councilmember Kiesling. Oh, you know, I forgot the other comment. First of all, Councilmember Keenly supported the improvements for the additional tree wells and trees and create consistent look. So,
Thank you.
good.
Appreciate that.
Forgot that. She supports the lighting at the public safety complex or building to get that project accomplished.
I
Any
agree.
questions?
That's a safety.
Any questions? I was wondering whether Con Edison et al. Was involved in this lighting or in the type of lights that we might use to keep costs down, or are you using, I think you said you were using the LED lighting?
We're planning to switch it to LED. Con Edison looked only at replacing the lights to the effect that we give the same amount of light that the light bulb had there previously. They didn't
Okay,
look
and you're
at,
expanding, and this is going to be
Yes.
an expansion. Okay, thank you.
and I'll turn it over to Urban Design to speak on a couple of their projects.
For the record, Joan LeBeau, Urban Design, and our first project listed here is the US 41 underpass, and we are widening and improving the appearance under that bridge. The original scope did not include the elimination of that 90-degree angle that you talked about earlier. It was only looked at to improve that appearance. If that 90-degree angle is going to be required to be removed, then there will be an additional $8,500 for that change in the design. and that contract will come before you at the next council meeting.
Question.
Joan, yes, go ahead, Tom.
Are we going to have to seek approval from Homeland Security again when we widen this roadway?
More than likely, yes.
That'll be a lengthy process, I would imagine.
Well, the last time we did this was the first one. That was the US 41 North Bridge. And it was not doing well until we finally got a contact with the Florida Department of Transportation to move it along. And they finally got it approved. Now, having already done one, maybe this one won't take as long.
And working with FDOT as well. They do that sort of, they work well with Homeland Security, so they will help get us through that process.
That's reassuring.
Because this one, there already is one, where the other one didn't even have
Have
one.
one.
So maybe that might speed it up.
There won't be any compromises then in terms of when we cut that side of the brickway? I mean, engineering-wise, are we okay? We're not going to have a bridge falling down?
That will be reviewed. And
For the record, Mike Giardulo with Weiler Engineering. Simple answer to your question, no.
Thank you.
That is just slope stabilization. We've actually coordinated already with the DOT Structures Office. And if you look at the other bridge, which I believe is newer, the northbound one, it has a similar sort of retaining wall design that we would do here as well. And if I may, since I have the floor, clarify one item. The elimination of the 90-degree turn and the adding of the two 45-degree turns is part of the design. What may be extra that we don't know at this point is whether or not we have to work on the seaward side of the mean high water line, and then which would kick in additional permitting requirements. So we certainly plan on doing that as part of what we're doing.
Mike, I have
Go
a
ahead,
question.
Tom.
Are we extending or widening landward-wise or water-wise?
Landward.
Landward.
Yes,
okay.
and you can see from that photo the proximity of the first bend and the piles right there. So there is, there's both a construction feasibility of working in the water under the bridge and that close to the piles, but there's also some approval things. So we're planning on moving in towards the slope stabilization, which is a riprap bags type of slope stabilization.
And how much space can we possibly gain by doing that? Are we talking 4 feet? I don't remember whether, like.
Well, with the railing, we're shooting for 10 to 12 feet path width.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be significantly larger.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's
And
currently
match
what?
up with the one behind the the Punta Gorda Waterfront Hotel.
What's the width now?
I think it's 5 feet, but I think the railing encroaches, so it's probably slightly less than that.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next project is the Harbor Walk West seawall. At our last meeting, council approved the seawall cap reduction from 5 feet to 2 feet with that estimated cost savings of $100,000. We are working right now with DOT to determine whether or not railings will be needed on that 2-foot cap. Public Works is in negotiations with them, trying to find out what exactly that expansion is that we need, where we would not have to have that rail added to it.
Yes, Howard.
Councilmember Keevely, we have been getting inconsistent information. True. Some of which does not even apply to configuration of the harbor walk. The width should not have any bearing on whether or not a barrier is required. We may agree, but that's not what the state says. The wall itself is elevated and does not present a drop-off hazard. We may agree, but that does not what the state says. I also question the cost quotes in the material. I would ask that this be tabled until the next meeting so we can get more definitive information. We agree, we need some more definitive information. We have given, that's the end of the comments, but we have given the state an alternative proposal, and that is, so far they've been insistent that they are going to require a handrail. They may be even requiring a handrail if we went back to 5 feet cap. Possible. They weren't before, but now they may be. We have given them an idea that we build the harbor walk, and then we retain a grass area, or something like that.
Correct.
Of a certain width before you get to the seawall. And we're waiting for an answer on this to see if that eliminates the need for handrails.
Other questions, comments at this point in time? Obviously, we're not going to be able to make a decision on this one either today, so it will be weighted. Any other questions or concerns? Yes, Tom?
Yeah, I'd like to know, since time may be of the essence here, what is the latest that we can initiate a contract and still meet the time frame so that we don't conflict with the phase being built between the Best Western and gazebo?
Well, that's going to be a, Mike Jardello, can you, I'm getting nervous we ran out of time almost, but you're the design firm.
We're close, and I can give you probably an actual drop dead date at the next meeting. I'm sorry, I don't have that information today. I'm not exactly sure on some of the construction times, the actual latest time you're able to start your Harbor Walk Zone 7 project. So we will have that information. And I can assure you that staff and myself, we've been working very diligently. It's been a little frustrating for the reasons that I think Howard expressed, but we've been working as best as we can, getting information from the DOT. And although we're frustrated with some of the responses we're getting, we can say that they've been very timely in their responses so far.
They have been or have not?
They have been, yes.
They have been.
Most certainly.
They have been. But whether we agree with the responses, they've been at least responsive.
Yes, Nancy?
Yeah, my concern is, even if they give us a response, will that apply to Zone 7? And because I'm just concerned, they seem to be changing it up, and that they might just come back and say, well, in Zone 7, we have to do something else, and we want consistency. And I have reservations.
Good point.
So-
And what we're doing is we're asking for specific direction for Zone 7. For the other phases that are not included in our DOT funding, you know, we have a little bit more liberty to deviate from what they may or may not approve. But we're asking them, you know, explicitly and to get answers in writing for Zone 7 so that when we go on with future phases, we can be consistent there. So we're not asking for the future phase that we're working on. We're asking for Zone 7, which, you know, we're under design right now.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll turn it over to Brad, our IT director.
Good morning, Brad Schutte, IT Manager for the city. The city website redesign project is in full flow. We have received our responses to the RFP and they are under review at this moment. We have a meeting scheduled on the 17th of February where each of the 3 firms that qualified will be making presentations to the selection committee. After that time, we'll identify our ranking of those 3 and present that to council for approval. Once the selection of the vendor has been made, the time frame based upon the responses that we got looks to be anywhere from 6 to 9 months from start to completed website. We have been working, we do have a design committee already selected that has been meeting and has met several times to try and work on what is the content that we want to be in there, working with One Community, One Message to make sure that we're adhering to that philosophy as well. And I believe that the work that we're doing now will actually be able to shave some of the time off of those estimates, because we'll be more prepared than the vendor's going to expect us to be once we begin working with them. So we're in a very good place right now with this project, and it's moving along.
Great, thank you.
The network backbone and the core switch for our city network. I'll try not to bury us in technical jargon, but this is a very, very key project for the city. Our city network right now, the switches and the core switch that we have are at their end of life and are
ready to be dropped from support by the vendor that we currently use. We have been meeting with the various manufacturers of equipment that would replace this and allow us to move the city onto a network which uses the latest in technology, future-proofs our investments so that it's going to be scalable well into the future, and allow us to continue to build our network in both its efficiency and its ability to be expanded as necessary, as we decide to branch out into other areas. The core switch and the backbone, when they're in place, should affect our connectivity between all of the city facilities and improve its efficiency tenfold. We're currently running on a 1 gigabyte backbone that will increase to a 10 gigabyte backbone with the ability in the equipment that we're looking at to actually upgrade when the technology becomes more affordable to a 40 gigabyte backbone. How does this affect us? It improves our backups and our disaster recovery capabilities because we communicate between two facilities to maintain all of our backups and our redundant network, and it allows those two facilities to communicate over a much faster pathway, which reduces our backup times from in excess of 12 hours to do a full backup of all of the city material to a backup time of probably less than 3. So it's going to allow us to be able to keep better backups, to eventually move to a place where we're running actual redundant sites, to where if one site in the city should go down due to whatever, a storm or a minor disaster, that we'll be able to fall back on a co-located site and with the efficiency of the network be able to function as though we were on our main network with almost no difference.
The other site, where is that?
Currently, it's at the public safety facility. We're working with the county right now to possibly move that to a little bit more hardened facility out at the airport that they have some space in. And so we already have a fiber link to that. Our improvement to the network already incorporates that facility. So if we can work out the rack space that we'll need to move our servers there, then that will actually become our secondary. I would at some point in time like to move it a little bit further away from the city, just to give us a little, so that both of our sites aren't within the path of a single storm or a single incident. But as things are right now, having them in that hardened facility would suffice. Would keep us for.
Has there been any consideration to having a very off-site New York? I don't know if New York would be the right place, but basically, when we're having storms and they're not, that there would be that kind of a backup?
Yes, that's part of the consideration. There is an investment required to do something like that because you end up having to almost completely duplicate what you run here versus what you would run at the co-located site. We would probably start, the step to move to the county facility would take us that next step up the ladder. After that, it would be relocating to somewhere, probably in Florida, in a different part of the state that wouldn't be affected by something that would affect us, where we would be able to get into a facility like that at a lower cost because of it. We could do I'm losing the word.
Reciprocal or?
A reciprocal agreement where we would be able to do the same thing for them. Thank you. But then to look at going further away, you start to get into the expense of paying for a site that would make it more expensive. Now we are looking at some of our applications and processes we're looking at moving into off-site, into the cloud, into the use over the web, which storm-proofs those applications. And so as we modernize our application list, we'll be looking at putting those applications into a mode where they wouldn't be affected no matter where we had our actual servers.
Questions?
Are there any other
Nancy?
questions?
Just I guess it is a question. From what you've said, it sounds like what you're looking to do is leapfrog technology with us because we're so far behind the curve, and take us into something that's really going to serve us well into the future.
That's absolutely the plan, and it isn't as much leapfrogging as the technology that we're using now. We've maxed it out. We're
Right.
using it at its fullest at the top end. We couldn't go any further with what we've got. What we're looking to put in is going to take us to the next level, but put us at the bottom end so that we've got room to grow. For example, the difference between a 10 gigabyte optic for a switch and a 40 gigabyte optic is about $15,000, and we have to have one optic for every link that we have. So it gets very expensive to go to that much faster speed. But we can start at 10, and as the price comes down, as the technology becomes more mainstream, we'll be able to look to advancing in those faster speeds to be able to accommodate things that we can't even anticipate right now of the needs of a network.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you.
I think there's one more, yes. The digital phone system, as it says, the project will begin later this year. Currently, the sales tax money is split between fiscal year 15, fiscal year 16, and we have to get the layer 2 network in place and some other things done to prepare for making the move to the digital phone system. We do have some proof of concept voice over IP phone systems at some of our outlying facilities that have been working very well, so the technology has proven itself. And we'll begin the planning of that actual migration to the voice over IP once we get the layer 2 network done.
Yes, Tom.
Is there a time when the system will become usable? Is it usable today, or do we have to wait until the county does all of their conversions, or at what point can it start to be used?
The phone system?
Yeah.
The phone system wouldn't rely on the county it would be a standalone run here at the city, so it would not rely on the county they wouldn't have to be at a certain point in their development for us to make use of a citywide digital phone system.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I think we're good.
All right. Oh, the computer. The computer upgrades is a fund that was established out of the sales tax to help put us back on track with equipment replacements. For several years up to this point, we hadn't been replacing our equipment on a regular basis. We'd been more waiting for it to get to where it didn't function anymore, which isn't the best practice. So using the funds that have been set aside here, it's going to allow us to upgrade some of our software systems, get them back on maintenance, and bring them up to latest levels, and also put us in a position. I'm meeting with each of the departments right now as I prepare our IT budget, and we're discussing with each of them their equipment needs. We're showing them their inventory of equipment, what the oldest 25% of their equipment is, and reviewing that to see how much of this really needs to be replaced and brought up to date. So we're able to identify that, but that will get us back on a 4-year replacement cycle where we'll be very clear each year how much of our equipment will need to be replaced. So these funds are set aside to help us get those things back on track. Okay. Oh, there was another one that's ours. Wow. I forgot about that one. I'm sorry. Council chambers equipment. We have already started this process. We've upgraded the recording in the chambers from the old dual cassette deck to a new digital recorder that records our meetings directly to our network. Allows us to gives us a much better quality of recording, I think, and gives the clerk's office the ability to work with those recordings from almost any workstation now, instead of it being tied to specific stations. The remainder, the upgrade of we want to look at if there are ways that we can improve the video services, and also the sound, other sound elements of the room. Is another area that we're looking at, how to improve the microphone quality here at the podium, so that if people are working on the computer and they turn away, you'll still be able to hear them clearly instead of it going in and out. Things like that are the types of improvements that we're looking to make, and just bring the room up again to the latest technology. And that's the last one. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.